rabbi that was, I believe, very close, related to the Ben Ish Chai. His name was Harav Abdallah ben Moshe Haim. Zecher Tzaddik Libracha, great rabbi of his time. I believe he passed away. He was close to about 100 years of age, and I think it was on 29th of November, back in the year 1864. We're talking about just over 160 years ago. The great rabbi had passed away. I believe it was either the 29th of Cheshvan Silula or the Lamed Cheshvan, the 30th of Cheshvan, right at the end of that Hebrew month in of itself. He was a great rabbi. He'd gone to become a Rosh Yeshiva, head of a Talmudic academy. He'd be working in jewels, in Viehloman, let's just say in of itself, with regards to that specific trade, I believe in the jewelry trade, so on and so forth. He was also one of the great rabbis, become a prominent rabbi. He also had many business connections all throughout. He was a diamond merchant, and reported over he was the uncle of Rabbi Yosef Haim of Baghdad, the famous Ben Ish Chai also. So what a CV he had. Let's explore a few of the highlights of the famous rabbi's life. Now, it's actually interesting. He was the son, I think the second son, if I'm not mistaken, of Rav Moshe Haim. Now, the rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before. Let's just say something about him. Rav Moshe Haim of Baghdad was born in the year 1752. He passed away in 1836. He was a famous posek. He was a darshan. He was a leader of the Jewish community in Iraq, especially in the 18th century and towards more of the earliest starts of the 19th century. He was rabbi also in Basra as well as in Baghdad, and he was a grandfather of Rabbi Yosef Haim, obviously the Ben Ish Chai, respectively. He brought about various decrees, takanot, in Iraq during his point in time. He had many great family members who have gone to become great rabbis, who we mentioned about on various occasions before. One of the family members was Rabbi Sasson Bar Mordechai Sandoch, who we spoke about just quite recently, also the Rabbi David Chaim, and so many other great rabbis. Among his Talmidim itself wasn't just Rabbi Abdallah ben Moshe Haim, who we're speaking about today. He had Rav Eliyahu, for example. Ben Moshe Haim was his son, but was also a Talmid of his. Rabbi Shlomo Yecheskel Yehuda, Rabbi Reuven Navi, another great rabbi spoken about on various occasions. Rabbi Yaakov Bar Yosef Harofeh. This was the caliber of rabbis at that point in time, and this was a rabbi of Rabbi Abdallah ben Moshe Haim, which we've got to point out. He would be learning over there. He was the second son of Rabbi Moshe Haim, which we have to point out. And obviously he was a Rosh Yeshiva Baghdad, his father was. Now, it's actually interesting. Okay, so he passed away in 1837, I believe his father did. And the family itself was absolutely outstanding. Maybe we'll actually record a video at one stage in time of the famous family of the entire Ben Ish Chai. And I think they'll be actually very important to do. Now, it's interesting. He would work as well as learning Torah at huge amounts of level. He would also be working in the diamond trade. It was reported over. He'd be working in Askev Mischa Yalomim. He would be training in at that point in time. He would learn it and would be part of that trade in of itself. And he was known as a very man with great emunah, with faith. People wanted to come to business with him, work with him, because they knew of his trustworthy levels in of itself. And very much his let's just say various legends actually related stories with regards to great honesty levels he had. Now, it's actually reported over that famously, we've spoken about this on various occasions before. There was the famous Damascus affair in the year 1840. I think we spoke about it in one of the videos of Rab and Tebi a few years back, about 3 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And he was, at that point in time, he was, I think, the president of the Jewish community, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I don't know if he was a president, but he was somehow, in that specific episode, he would have some role to play with in regards to negotiations and, trying to help that situation. I'll say what it says over here in Hebrew. B'gvut sichsuchim im nasi hakila Yudit be'iro akal Damasik, 1840. Hayam urav b'shtidlanot hayudit saviv alilot Damasik. So I think he will help with in regards to that specific point in time, that entire episode. Maybe we'll actually record a separate video within regards to what actually occurred during that specific point in time, an educational video, because I think that will be very beneficial. Then come on, 1841, about a year after the famous Damascus affair actually took place, he would go to Eretz Israel. He would travel to Eretz Israel and would settle in Jerusalem over there. And I think at that point in time, he was working, he had strong connection with famous philanthropists, especially in Hodu, in India, and in various other places also around that decorating that specific area in Baghdad in of itself. I think he was a treasurer of the charity fund of the, I think the exact name was of the Jewish community, especially from Rabbi Yechezkel Judah from Calcutta. Remember, we spoke about him also before on various occasions before. He was a great man in of itself. I think he passed away in the 1865. Yechezkel Judah did. I think we actually did mention him recently when we recorded a few videos on other great Iraqi Indian rabbis at that point in time. And it's actually interesting, the famous Yaakov Sapir, who was a famous historian. He was Rabbi Yaakov Halevi HaSapir, who would be very well traveled all over these different places, and he was author of the Event Sapir book in of itself, would actually chronicle much within regards to the great rabbi. And I'll actually say what it says, הנושא ירושלמי יעקב ספיר מונה אותו בתחילת ספרו אבן ספיר עם הרבנים הגדולים וזקני העדה יקירי ירושלים. Very, very interesting. Extra thing to point out over there. So he was really, now, more will happen. I think come on the 1844 in Jerusalem, he would found the famous yeshiva, Yeshivat Knesset Yechezkel over there. And I think he would head that until the time period he passed away. Now, one of his Talmidim was another great rabbi who we've also spoken about before in this series, was Rabbi Benjamin Yechezkel Yehuda, who lived between the years 1844 to 1912. He himself happened to be a Rosh Yeshiva, a Mukubal, a trader. In of itself, he was one of the great rabbis from Baghdad and from Iraq. He was actually the son of Rabbi Shlomo Yechezkel Yehuda, very, very great rabbi of his time. And he would actually have many great children, including Avram Shalom Yechezkel Yehuda, Yitzchak Yechezkel Yehuda, really great rabbis of great caliber of that point in time. He would be the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshivat Chesed El in Jerusalem, which was a very prominent position, and as well as having many, he just achieved a huge amount in his life. Another famous rabbi, I think we've spoken about on various occasions before. I think much will be chronicled within regards to him in the books of Moshe David Gaon, the famous chronicler also, which you point out, but he passed away himself, Rabbi Benjamin Yechezkel, who died in 1912, talking about 113 years ago, here from the time of recording. So that's very, very interesting. Okay, so going back to Rabbi Abdallah ben Moshe Haim, I believe he passed away at the end of the Hebrew month of Cheshvan. I think it was around the 1864, 1865, if I'm not mistaken. He was about 100 years of age at the time he passed away. Now it says over there, בצוותא ביקש כי יקברו אותו בין פשוטי העם ולא יספידוהו, אך אנשי ירושלים לא שעו לבקשתו וליוו אותו למנוחות בכבוד רב. They gave him a grandiose funeral, and he was buried in the Mount of Olives burial plot, naturally Beit HaKvorot, Bahar HaZeitim. He was, now it's actually interesting, I think he would leave behind 3 sons and 4 daughters, and it's reported over, I believe, that if I'm not mistaken, he was a Pakid of Hebron, a prominent position, Hacham Yosef Shalom, and yeah, so much was said within regards to that, and he was that, and obviously he left various other great descendants also, and we see that he was the uncle of Chacham Yosef Haim of Baghdad. So really the family in themselves, they in themselves had many, many great descendants. So at that point in time, Iraq was under the Ottoman Empire, which we've spoken about on various occasions before, which I have to point out. And much more can be said within regards to these great rabbis. I recommend everyone to learn more with regards to him. He was known as one of the pioneers, let's just say, and builders of the original Jerusalem, let's just say, from those specific points in time. On various websites that will actually chronicle over information within regards to him. I think he's well documented in Lebanon, newspaper, Lebanon. There's also in the Toldot, Chachmei Yerushalayim, there's much that's chronicled over within regards to him. And I think more is actually featured in the Titar encyclopedia. There's a specific encyclopedia in itself where it will chronicle within regards to informations within regards to him. But very, very interesting and very, very great rabbi of his time. I recommend everyone to actually learn more about him. And I think he had great admirers. He was brilliant, and many, not just Jewish people, were astounded by him. Also, non-Jewish people were over there. So he really had a huge amount of great reputation all over the various different vicinities, and that's something that we must point out over here. So very, very interesting, very great rabbi of his time. And yeah, please learn more about the great rabbis of yesteryear. Now, actually, they say, actually, within regards to him, I mean, I think there was a connection, if I'm not mistaken, with one Talmidim of the Gra in Europe. That's how well known he was. And he was obviously the head of Baghdad. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he would actually encounter Rabbi Yisrael Mishkolov, who was a Talmid of the Gra, if I'm not mistaken. But the Peyat HaShulchan, there'll be like some sort of a connection within regards to it also. So that's very, very interesting. So I think that's within regards to his father, by the way, over here. So that's something that we should point out. Now, friends, we are a community over here. We are learning about great rabbis of yesteryear. Now, if you descend from any of the great rabbis we happen to be speaking about here in this series, please send me an email. I would love to hear more information. Now, friends, we've recorded already about 1,300 short tidbit videos on great rabbis that there were of yesteryear, from all the various different Ottoman, let's just say, territories, if that's specific point in time, all the different places really connected to these important countries. If you descend from any of the great rabbis we are speaking about, please send me an email. I would love to hear more information. Another thing, that project that we're working on here in this series is a project where we are recording at the moment the history of various different interesting countries. We try and explore about what were the rabbinic structures in many of the countries that we're speaking about, what was going on within regards to various different communities over there, what was the communities like, the Torah learning in those various different places. Like, that's what we're trying to concentrate on at the moment and explore more further. Also, we are recording the history of various different Sephardic Oriental yeshivot from the Oriental countries. We speak a lot about it and look at who were the rabbis there, the founders. We look at the history within regards to it, and so on and so forth. That's another important, that's just the importances that we're trying to concentrate on at that specific point in time. And we are also exploring the various different famous synagogues of all over the world that there are. We've had many in the great Oriental countries, great synagogues, and we're trying to look at what were the great synagogues of yesteryear in many of these different countries, which maybe many people don't necessarily speak about. Also, on this series, we have a burst of wisdom every day from a great current rabbi or great Jewish personality here of modern era, where they say over various different important things to really, let's just say, inspire our days and really mitchazek Am Yisrael to a great degree. Also, what we do is we do videos, a daily tidbit on the daily page of the Gemara. That's another project that we are working on at the moment, which we have to point out, Daf Yomi as they call it, and so on and so forth. So we're doing huge amounts. So please, everyone, subscribe to the channel. We're on the 6th day of Sukkot currently over here in the Israel, in as far as Ushpizin goes. That is happens to be the day of Yosef HaTzadik at the moment, and tomorrow is going to be David HaMelech or Shana Rabbah. Probably recording this at the time of the morning here in the festival of Sukkot. So please, everyone, subscribe to the channel. We are nearing at the moment a staggering, at the moment, 7,500 subscribers, which is an achievement I don't think we ever thought we would achieve at the moment, but we've actually achieved it in a great deal, and we're growing. So I really recommend everyone, please subscribe to the channel and join our community as we go from strength to strength and learn more about the great rabbis of yesteryear. So everyone watching, subscribe now, enjoy, and we've got a lot of content, Bezrat Hashem, hopefully coming up today. We're hopefully going to film some more Sukkot parties, a special and the prayers this morning, Shachar prayers, we're going to hopefully record also, and so on. and so forth. So that's very one. So please subscribe, enjoy, and Chag Sameach. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thanks.